Hi students, welcome to my channel So Basics. Today I am going to discuss with you on how to balance a chemical equation. Most of you may be having a problem on how to balance a chemical equation. So today we will sort it out. Now let's take an example and have a discussion. First example, PCl5 plus H2O gives H3PO4 plus HCl. So here it is PCl5, phosphorus chloride, this is water, this is phosphoric acid, and this is another acid called hydrochloric acid. Now by balancing an equation, you have to remember a sequence, that is non-metals, metals, hydrogen, and then oxygen. This is the sequence which is used in balancing an equation. According to this order, we have to balance the chemical equation. Now the first step of balancing a chemical equation is writing down all the elements which are present in this equation, that is here phosphorus, then chlorine, then hydrogen, then oxygen. Now this is the reactant side and this is the product side. Okay. Now write down the number of elements which are present in both reactant and product side. That is, in the reactant side, the number of phosphorus present is 1, and here it is also 1. Now chlorine. Chlorine, in the reactant side there are 5 chlorine, and in the product side there is only 1 chlorine. Hydrogen in the reactant side is 2, and hydrogen in the product side, here it is 3 plus 1, that is 4. And oxygen, 1 in the reactant side, oxygen 4 in the product side. Now take the sequence. First, non-metals. Among these elements, chlorine is the non-metal. So consider chlorine. Chlorine here 5 is in the reactant but only 1 in the product side. So we will have to balance the number of chlorine. Here it is PCl5, so we will just add a coefficient 5 as a coefficient. So the number of chlorine is balanced, it is 5. Okay. Now take next metal. Among this, phosphorus is the metal, but metal phosphorus is already balanced, 1 in the reactant side and 1 in the product side, so there is no need of balancing it again. But we have to check one main important point, that is, while balancing the next elements, we have to check the previous element which we have balanced, whether we are alternating the previous element balancing or not. Chlorine, first we have balanced chlorine here, then we have gone for phosphorus. So after balancing phosphorus, we have to check the balancing of chlorine. Chlorine, here it is 5, here it is 5. So there is no alternation for chlorine. So both these are balanced. Next, hydrogen. Hydrogen 2 in the reactant side and 4 in the product side. So to make this 2 hydrogen into 4, we can add a coefficient 2 here. Okay. So it will become 4 in the reactant side, 4 in the product side. But check, while balancing the phosphorus and chlorine, we have added a 5 here. So, total number of hydrogen in the product side will be 5. This coefficient 5 is effective for both hydrogen and chlorine. So, 5 hydrogen means there are 5 plus 3, 8 hydrogen. Okay. So, 2 is not the correct coefficient here. Here the correct coefficient is 4. 4 into 2, 8. 8, 8. So, hydrogen is also balanced. Now, next consider oxygen. Oxygen here it is 4 in the reactant side and 4 in the product side. For this 4 is effective for, I have told you before that this 4 is effective for both hydrogen and oxygen. So, 4 in the reactant side and 4 in the product side. Now, don't stop here. We have to check once again the whole elements. First, chlorine. Chlorine it is 5 in the reactant side, 5 in the product side. Okay. Then, metal, that is phosphorus. Phosphorus 1 in the reactant side, 1 in the product side. Okay. Then hydrogen. Hydrogen 4 into 2, 8 in the reactant side and 5 plus 3, 8 in the product side. Then oxygen 4 in the reactant side and 4 in the product side. So, the equation is balanced. Now, the balanced form of this equation is PCl5 plus 4H2O gives H3PO4 plus 5HCl. Now, we will go for some questions, that is Fe2O3 plus carbon gives Fe plus carbon dioxide. So, I have told you before that just remember the sequence, that is non-metals, metals, hydrogen, oxygen. So, the first step was writing down all the elements both in the reactant side and product side. Fe, oxygen, carbon. This is the reactant side and this is the product side. Now, Fe 2 in the reactant side, 1 in the product side, and oxygen it is 3 in the reactant side, 2 in the product side. Carbon it is 1 in the reactant side and 1 in the product side. So, now consider this sequence. According to this sequence, first we have to consider non-metals. Among this element, carbon is the non-metal. So, now carbon in the reactant side it is 1, product side it is also 1. So, carbon is balanced. Now, next metal. Metal considering here it is Fe. Now, Fe 2 in the reactant side, 1 in the product side. So, to make this 1 Fe into 2, we can add a coefficient 2 here which will balance the ion. Okay. Now, I have told you that while balancing next elements, we have to check the previous element which we have balanced. So, here first we have balanced carbon, then we have gone for iron. So, we have to check the previous element which is carbon. Carbon 1 in the reactant side, 1 in the product side. So, there is no alternation for carbon. So, iron and carbon are balanced. Now, next hydrogen, but hydrogen is not present in this equation. Now, next go for oxygen. Oxygen 3 in the reactant side and 2 in the product side, that is, so we have to check that by adding which coefficient we will get the balanced equation. Here it is 2 oxygen. So, while adding a 2 here, it will be 2 into 2, 4 oxygen, and here it is 3 oxygen, but 3 and 4 cannot be balanced. So, 2 is not the correct coefficient. Now, next go for the coefficient 3. 3 into 2, it is 6 here. So, we can make this 3 oxygen into 6 oxygen by doubling it. That is 2 as a coefficient in the reactant side. So, this will also make 6 oxygen in the reactant side. Now, check the previous element iron. I think we have alternated the balancing of iron. Fe 2 into 2, here it is 4 Fe, but previously we have written only 2 Fe. So, 4 Fe in the reactant side. So, to make this 2 Fe into 4, we can add a 4 as a coefficient in the reactant side, which will make 4 Fe in the product side. So, after balancing all this, we have to recheck once again all the elements. Considering non-metal carbon 1 in the reactant side, see here it is 3 in the product side. So, to balance this 3, okay, and 3 carbon in the reactant side and 3 carbon in the product side. Next Fe it is 2 into 2, 4 in the reactant side, 4 in the product side. Next oxygen 3 into 2, 6 in the product side, 3 into 2, 6 in the product side. So, the equation is balanced. Now, the balanced form of this equation is, so this equation is balanced. Now, the balanced form of this equation is 2 Fe2 O3 plus 3 carbon gives 4 Fe plus 3 carbon dioxide. Now, we will go for the second question, that is Na3PO4 plus MgCl2 gives NaCl plus Mg3PO4 twice. Here this is sodium phosphate, this is magnesium chloride, this is sodium chloride, and this is magnesium phosphate. So, I have told you the sequence, that is non-metals, metals, hydrogen and oxygen. Now, first step was writing down all the elements present in the chemical equation in both reactant and product side. So, first chlorine, then sodium, phosphorus, magnesium and then oxygen. This is the reactant side, this is the product side. So, now chlorine, it is 2 in the reactant side, 1 in the product side. Sodium, it is 3 in the reactant side, 1 in the product side. Phosphorus, it is 1 in the reactant side, and see the 2 is written outside the bracket, which is effective for both oxygen and phosphorus. So, 2 in the product side. Next magnesium, 1 in the reactant side and 3 in the product side. Oxygen, it is 4 in the reactant side and 4 into 2, 8 in the product side. Now, consider the non-metal among this. Here chlorine is the non-metal. So, chlorine, in the case of chlorine, there are 2 in the reactant and 1 in the product. So, making this 1 into 2 is very much easier. So, add a coefficient 2 here. That is 2 chlorine in the product side. Now next sodium. Sodium it is 3 in the reactant side and 1 in the product side, but actually it is 2 in the product side. While balancing the chlorine, we have added a coefficient 2 which is effective for both sodium and chlorine. So 2 in the product side. So a common factor for this 3 and 2 is 6. That is 3 into 2 is 6 and 2 into 3 is also 6. So adding a coefficient 2 here will make 3 into 2 6 in the reactant side. So replacing this coefficient 2 with 6 will give 6 sodium in the product side. So I have told you before that while moving to the next element, we have to check the previous element which we have balanced already. So I have balanced first chlorine, then sodium. After balancing sodium, we will recheck with chlorine. In case of chlorine, it is 2 in the reactant side, but it is 6 in the product side. So adding 6 here, 6 in the product side, because we have written a coefficient 6 for balancing sodium which is effective for chlorine also. So making this 2 into 6 is easier by adding a 3 as a coefficient here. So here it will also become 6. Now next, phosphorus. So chlorine and sodium both are balanced. Now phosphorus it is 1 in the, no, it was 1, but while adding a coefficient 2 it will become 2 in the reactant side and 2 in the product side. So it will get automatically balanced. Now magnesium also gets automatically balanced while adding a coefficient 3. It will become 3 in the reactant side and 3 in the product side. Now oxygen also adding, we have added a coefficient 2 here which will make 4 into 2, 8 oxygen in the reactant side and 8 oxygen in the product side. So once again recheck. Chlorine it is 3 into 2, 6, 6 chlorine balanced. Now sodium 3 into 2, 6, 6 sodium balanced. Phosphorus 2 phosphorus and 2 phosphorus balanced. Magnesium 3 magnesium and 3 magnesium balanced. Oxygen is 4 into 2, 8, 8 balanced. Now the balanced form of this equation is 2Na3 PO4 plus 3MgCl2 gives 6 NaCl plus Mg3 PO4 twice. Thank you for watching my video. See you soon with the next video.